Messmer the Impaler, the child raised to birth. Woo! Hot, 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 hot. The world that made him is a rather strange one. Messmer is not born into a culture, he is engineered by one. The Golden Mother Tucking Order. The lands between under America's rule is a society obsessed with order, purity, and control of the narrative. Power is not merely wielded, it is sanctified. Anything that does not fit the Golden Order's image is not corrected. It is erased, buried, or repurposed as a weapon. Messmer's environment is one of holy contradiction. A divine mother who preaches grace, but does not hesitate to destroy anything that opposes it. That's not very graceful now, is it? A regimen that thrives on conquest and suppression, similar to Christian crusades back in the day. But instead of convert or die, it's no grace, no life. In Elden Ring, belief equals reality. Under the Golden Order, the Erd Tree is objectively sacred. It decides who has grace and who doesn't. And if you have grace, you are instantly one of the good guys. Anything outside that framework is just wrong by definition. There's no such thing as being different. There is no neutral disagreement even allowed. If something contradicts the Erd Tree, exists outside of grace, or operates by a different metaphysical logic, it is treated as a cosmic mistake. That's why omens, the people born with traits from an older form of life, like horns, malformed limbs, wings, and overgrown bodies, etc., they are mutilated or imprisoned. The fire giants are genocided because their fire is strong enough to burn the Erd Tree down. And we can't have that now, can we? The Crucible, a time before the Order, that is also buried. Serpents are demonized, for they represent the opposite beliefs of the Golden Order. Chaos. Flame is feared unless tightly controlled. We all know what fire does to trees.
O Erd Tree, you shall burn.
Now, why does any of this matter to Messmer? Well, Messmer's fire, especially its serpentine nature, places him outside acceptable cosmology. So psychologically, he grows up in a world where his nature is considered incorrect. His power contradicts the official story of reality. His existence creates discomfort within the Golden Order. That means Messmer isn't just shamed socially, he is ontologically rejected. Meaning, his meaning for existence is null and void. He represents a truth the Golden Order does not want to integrate. So instead, it uses him as a tool while refusing to legitimize him. That's pretty horrible and cruel. You are wrong, but damn, you're kind of useful. Now, the consequences of Messmer growing up in a system like this teaches him, if I am different, damn, I am freaking dangerous. If I am myself, whoa, I am I am sin itself. I am sinful. If I want belonging, I must suppress the truth. And that is the main reoccurring theme in the Elden Ring. So, Miquella, who's also known as the Saint. We have Marika, who's also Radigan. We have Melania, whose true self is the blooming flower of rot. You know, everyone has their alter ego, or they're not really showing their true selves. Sorry I got from that tangent, but that's why Messmer doesn't rebel ideologically. He internalizes the system and it turns it inward. And that's where the tragedy lives. So when Messmer steps into this world, a son who carries something the system cannot reconcile, the serpent within, Where others are blessed by grace, Messmer is cursed also with fire, which is also not acceptable in the Golden Order. So, but it's not just any fire, not cleansing fire, not sacred flame, but withering serpentine fire, alive, uncontrollable, and symbolically opposed to the Earth Tree's static order. From a psychological lens, Messmer is raised in a culture that teaches him one core lesson very early. You are useful, but you are not acceptable. That the serpents you got going on, the fire you're producing, it's not the Earth Tree, the Golden Order, we're not feeling it. So Messmer's flame is just, it's not a weapon. It is his primary emotional regulator. Fire in his case functions as rage. He is not allowed to express verbally. Shame, he cannot confess. Identity, he is forbidden to claim. The serpents entwined with his fire matter so deeply. Serpents in Elden Ring consistently symbolize forbidden knowledge, chaos, destruction, and truths buried behind the Golden Order. Messmer fire moves, it coils, it lashes, it refuses stasis. This tells us something crucial about his inner world. He does not experience emotions cleanly. His feelings erupt, spiral, and self-propagate. Suppression only intensifies the burn. You know, his moves are very wild, and all this spinning and the fire, it's very explosive. That's Messmer's emotions. Psychologically, Messmer displays traits consistent with chronic emotional invalidation. He is told what he is for, but never who he is. His inner experience is never mirrored with care. His power becomes the only language he is allowed. Fire becomes his voice because nothing else was ever listened to. Murica did not care about his feelings or about loving this child. This child, unlike Godwin, who was like Godwin the Golden, who was perfect, he was born with a lot of grace. This Messmer, he wasn't. He was born with the serpentine fire, which is for America, that was the worst, almost one of the worst things you can be born with. So the only thing she even cared about was the fire that she can use to manipulate and wage her war. Now, the armor that he wears is pretty much a prison disguised as purpose. Messmer armor is elegant, imposing and cruel, designed not merely to protect him, but to define him. Notice what his silhouette communicates. Vertical dominance, authority imposed, not earned, regal symmetry, control and composure, masking his inner chaos, sealed contours, nothing exposed, nothing allowed to spill out. This is not armor meant for self-expression. It is an institutional branding. Yet look closer. The armor is scaled. Even as Messmer hides his serpents beneath layers of steel and ritual authority, their presence is echoed in the very texture of what he wears. The scales are not functional. They are symbolic in aesthetic choice that reveals a quiet, unresolved intimacy with what he is taught to despise. This is the paradox of the heart of Messmer. Psychologically, this reflects internalized shame paired with unextinguished attachment. Messmer does not fully reject his serpentine nature, and how could he? He cannot. It's too deeply intertwined with his identity, his very soul. So instead, he compromises. The snakes are hidden, but remembered. The fire is contained, but honored, especially by the use of the color red. He loves that red color. The self is denied, but not erased. In psychological terms, Messmer armor represents a false self, a persona constructed to survive in an environment that rejects vulnerability and contradiction. The armor does not integrate who he is, it compresses him into something acceptable. Kind of like a little, it's kind of like a bit of a F you, Marika, you know, a little bit. You go, boy. He got a little backbone there. You got a little backbone there. Impaling, this thing that he does, is an act of extreme dominance. Look it up. It immobilizes, it displays, it terrifies. Messmer's signature method of violence reflects a psyche shaped by learned helplessness turned outward. As a child of America's order, he learns he cannot control his origin. He cannot purify his curse. He cannot be fully acknowledged. So he controls others. Impaling freezes the enemy in place, an external reenactment of Messmer's own psychological state. Trapped, displayed, and defined by pain. He doesn't do this sadism for pleasure. Well, on the America orders, you know, these are the people that massacred America's family, you know, and friends and loved ones. They put them in jars, and they needed one shaman from America's village, and they had to first be tortured and beaten so the flesh would be made malleable, and they stuck the shaman in with the jars of criminals. And so with magic and science, their flesh gets bounded together and you get these magical jars. Now, why do these people do this? They say the magical jars are sacred, and you know how religious freaks can be. So they destroyed her whole village and tortured and killed her people. So I'm sure Marika was like, you know, do the worst possible that you can think of to them. And so he did, and his choice was to impale. He could have done any beheading, he could have done anything else, but he chose to impale. And the reason why he chose to impale is the compensation for being powerless. Messmer lives inside an impossible bind. Be loyal but never visible. I don't want to see those snakes and fire around me. Get the out of here. You know what I mean? Be powerful but never revered. You're not honorable. You're a piece of shit because you have the serpentine fire inside you. But I need you to destroy my enemies. Be necessary but never remembered. Their records of him is erased. He's in the shadows. You know? Gotta control that narrative. The Golden Order demands Messmer's violence while denying his legitimacy. He is necessary but never worthy. This creates a profound identity fracture. He internalizes the belief that love must be earned through suffering. He mistakes endurance for worth. He confuses obedience with purpose. Messmer does not rebel loudly like Rykard. He does not escape like Mikola. He endures. And endurance, when it's never rewarded, curdles into bitterness. That bitterness has a home. Messmer Tower is not merely a stronghold, it is a monument to waiting. Tall, narrow, and airless. It rises upward without offering much light. Its corridors are heavy with shadow, not because darkness is required, but because hope has been withheld. This is where Messmer waits, not for redemption, not for freedom, but for his mother, Queen America, to return. And you know damn well she ain't coming back. The gloom of the tower reflects a child who was never told when waiting would end, only that obedience mattered. Every dark hall, every sealed chamber echoes the same unspoken promise. Endure long enough and you may be acknowledged. Do what I tell you to do, and I may come back and give you some grace. But there is no warmth in this tower, no grace to be had, no reassurance. It is a place built for silence, for standing watch, for following orders, for believing that loyalty might one day be rewarded with love. The darkness is as moody as a loved one whose anniversary you have forgotten. The tower exists because Messmer is still waiting, still hoping that one day the mother who gave him purpose will return and finally see him as more than just a weapon, but as your child. Messmer's psyche and his combat design tell the same story. His attacks are expansive, indicating that his emotions are out of fucking control, lingering, feelings that's unresolved. Just tell me you love me, mama. Self-damaging. Power that consumes its wielder. You know, he hurts himself. That's how hot he is. The more he fights, the more the fire asserts itself, mirroring how repressed emotions inevitably finds expression, often destructively. That's why our prison system is the way it is. His inner turmoil fuels his outer devastation. His armor contains but never heals. His flame speaks but never soothes. This is the tragedy of Messmer. He was shaped to burn the world before anyone taught him how not to burn himself. My final diagnosis. Messmer the Impaler represents a child weaponized by ideology, a self formed entirely through conditional worth, a man whose emotional system was never allowed safety. He is what happens when culture prioritizes order over care, power replaces attachment, fire is punished instead of understood. Messmer is not evil by nature. He is what grows when pain is given a uniform and told it is holy. That's the golden order for you. Ooh, Messmer, you are one tragic man, but not at all without a heart. You made a burn and destroyed everything that village had to offer, but you still kept those records. So, Messmer, you're not all that bad. You're just told to be that way, and I understand you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing this video with me, and thanks for watching. And I hope you are having a happy new year. I don't think I will get this video out in time for that, but in case I do, happy new year. And thanks for watching.